Hello and welcome to episode number 6. Got going a little bit late today. A couple technical things going on. Um, so today I was talking about, or will be talking about, the title that I've written, You and Us. And so it's basically about being you and being us. And what I really mean by us, sort of another way of looking at the we of us in that sense. And it's really interesting how when we look at ourselves, how little we sometimes see of ourselves, how little we acknowledge the brilliance of what we are in the world and the brilliance of what we create in the world. And we seem to do this thing which is actually asked of us in this society of hiding us all the time. And so what if we didn't do that? What if we actually showed up? What if we actually chose to be something different? And what I mean by choosing to be something different, it's like actually choosing to be who we truly be, which is different. That is actually the difference. It's just by choosing who we are. And it is just so interesting to see how often we don't choose that. And we've definitely been taught not to. We've been taught to fit into this world and to see how we can fit in and be like everyone else. That shows up all the time in so many different ways. And I was reminded of this particular thing today when I met a friend, and he was showing me this this proposal basically that he had created, and he just wanted to run it by me, and so we looked at it, and it was good, and it was really neat, and also it didn't have enough of him in it. It was like he was kind of missing from this, and he's such a dynamic person and really amazing, and really wants to create such a different world, and it's so evident the moment you meet him. And it was almost like, he didn't, if he was going to do it in this reality, he couldn't include himself really to the extent that would actually create the difference, create the more. And so it is really being who we truly be and showing up as who we truly are. And the biggest part is really just acknowledging who we are and acknowledging that we are different. Acknowledging that we're different from, well, everyone. And that is the beauty. That's the beauty in this world, is that we are this difference. And you see that in nature. A certain tree looks like a certain tree, or a certain flower, or bush, or whatever it may be, bird. They all look similar, but they're not the same. They are all individual in their way. And not only in the way they look, but also in the way they show up. And it may be strange to talk about plants that way, but they do show up different. And animals show up different. It's really evident when you have pets. They have different personalities. They are different. They're not the same. They may be the same breed, but they certainly don't look identical. They may look really similar at times, but certainly not identical. And they are different, and they show up as their difference. And they're not hiding it in any way. They're not hiding themselves. They just show up as they are. And what if we allowed and acknowledged ourselves to do that? To show up as us, and to really be that and play with that in the world. What else would be possible then if we were actually truly willing to do that? And isn't it amazing, like when you do meet people, and when you meet people that are being themselves, they're the ones that are interesting. They're the ones that are fun. They're the ones that you want to know more about, because they're just in allowance of themselves and being themselves in however that shows up. And it's really cool, and it's really amazing when you get to witness that. And when you actually choose it yourself, it is really that total allowance to be, no matter what anyone thinks or says or projects or whatever that may be. What if you just being you is what will change everything? What if it will? What if it is the thing that changes everything? And I think the beauty of that, the beauty of having people around, one thing that I've noticed too in my world is I get to see, by the people that I've chosen in my life, I do get to see more of me, and I do get to see what I choose and how I am, and I do get to acknowledge my difference. And that is the beauty about having people in your life that aren't the same as you, that are different than you. You get to see your difference, and you get to see that difference is not something that you make wrong or bad. That is the difference. You get to see the difference that everyone is, including you. And that is really the gift. And then, what else can you choose? What else can you choose from there? What else is possible with that? And what else can how much more allowance and acknowledgement can you be of yourself and everyone else to just be aware of what is. And I think that's also another thing is just that willingness to just acknowledge what is in the world. And what is just every 10 seconds. It is just in this moment, because what is in this moment will change. And it won't be the same, and it will be different. And what if today just was today? And you got to see what actually is, and you were willing to move beyond the fantasies that you've created in your world, which I'm sure none of you have done, and I certainly have never done that. No, I've never created any fantasies in my world whatsoever. And so when you get to see what is, you just have more information to choose. You just have more information to see the world in a different way, and maybe then make a different choice than what you've been making. And that's really what has shown up in my world today, and really over the last week. And it's been really cool, actually. And in many things that have gone on in the last while, I ask myself more the question, what would I choose here? I get what other people will choose. I'm really aware of that. And I still get to choose as well what, with the information that I have, with the knowing that I have, and how, and just choosing that and seeing what shows up with that. It's been interesting. And when I look at this one particular situation, I was looking at creating something, and so I was talking to other people, like how, their input on how this would be created and what could change and so on. And these suggestions were given, and when I looked at the suggestions, I was like, huh. And then I really actually looked at it. I'm like, if I was choosing to do this, what would I do? And I realized in that moment that I would have chosen something else. And so I did. I did choose something else. And it's funny because it makes me think of, like, you ask somebody to do something and you have suggestions, and they'll just end up doing it the way they want to do it anyways. Well, it was kind of like that. And it was just interesting because the way you see things, it will be different in your world than other people's world. And it doesn't mean that other people can't contribute. It actually is a great thing when other people contribute. And that's the beauty of, like, looking at getting information and seeing things, and then you get to choose. And you get to choose with more information, and you get to choose with the knowingness of you. And it's really those moments, and it's not even a moment, because it's literally a being where you're like, huh, I am choosing for me. And it's not that information didn't have any relevance. It's not that at all. It actually has a lot of relevance, in the sense that you got to see what one possibility was, and then you also got to see some other possibilities, and you could choose whatever you wanted to choose. And you can use your awareness to choose, and that's the whole point of you being here and in the creation of you. And there was also something else that showed up. We had a bars exchange here last night, and someone was talking about value, about talking to someone else about whether or not they valued themselves. And I thought it was, putting value on you or something else or whatever it is. In that moment, I got the conversation. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get this thing. If you value yourself, you're going to choose something different. You're going to create more. And also what I became aware of, there's this thing of, like, you can look at value, and you can look at all those things and, value yourself more or whatever, which to me is just more acknowledging yourself. But it's like, it's also, so if I looked at anything here, what else could I choose that I'm not choosing, actually? What other possibilities are there? And what other possibilities will show up? if I choose something different than what I've been choosing? And what will that create in my world? And for the people's, for the world, for the people's world around me. I don't think that came out right. And it didn't come out right anyways. And what is that? Like where do we, it's kind of, when I look at it, it's the space of what else is possible in this creation, instead of just looking at value. It's like, it was almost like, to me in that moment, I'm like, and what else is possible? And I get that sometimes when you don't look at yourself and you don't value yourself or don't acknowledge yourself and all that, then your world is small and there aren't other possibilities. So having that peace, or having that acknowledgement of who you be and what contribution you are and what can be different and what you can change in the world by being you and being more of you, maybe that conversation isn't actually going on. And also, it's really just looking at these other choices. And what if none of them were significant? And what if none of them mattered as much as we make them matter? What if we could just choose something and then choose it and choose something else and choose something else and choose something else? I know when funny things showed up, it reminds me of this thing. I was talking to actually my mom. This is some time ago, and we have some family friends, and who had gone to go visit some time ago as well. And my mom had talked to them, and she was commenting, or they had commented to her, that in their world that I seemed really lost, because it was like I wouldn't, it looked like I wouldn't commit to anything. I would, I'd move around and stuff like that, and so on. And it was interesting. So from the outside, it looked like I had no focus in life, and which is true from when looking in this world. It would certainly appear that way. And what it really was is I just became aware of that what my focus is just looks different, and to other people it does look really strange. It looks really weird, and it shows up in all kinds of ways that aren't normal in this reality. And there is very little normal about the way I do life. And it just got me thinking of, like, how abnormal are we all? Like, we are so not the same. None of us are actually normal. And what if we were just willing to be more of that? And how much more fun would it be? How much more fun? And that'd be my question to you. If you were willing to be you, how abnormal would you have to be? How strange would you look like in this world? And it's not even about how strange you look. It's like, I think really one of my favorite examples are the Bowmans, because they are not normal. There's nothing normal about them. Yet they show up as, in this reality, in a way, they show up like fairly normal in some ways. Um, they work in the corporate world, which is pretty normal. The way they do it the way they work in the corporate world isn't far from normal. There's not anything normal about them at all, and yet they really kind of use this reality in a way that kind of makes them look normal when they aren't. And it's really cool to watch, and it's really cool to see. And it's like, what if you could do more of that? What if you could show up and seem somewhat normal, but really, really are not? And how much are you actually doing that already? And so this is, as most days, is kind of a rambling of all these different things that show up. And it's really, really for me, the invitation to choose more of you, and also the acknowledgement of just being different, just being you and willing to be you all the time, no matter what. And whatever that looks like, that's really my invitation to you. And also, what else would that change in the world if we actually all chose that? What if we chose to be the difference we truly be, and we're willing to choose that every moment, that we were to be willing to actually show up as all of you. And how much resistance is there to actually choosing that? And what else is possible? So on that note, thank you for joining. I would love to hear more from any of you watching. Even if it's just sharing something, and tell me what's different about you. I am curious to know. This weekend I'm going to a class, ESB, which I'm really excited about. I've become extremely excited in the last few days. I've taken this class once before a year ago, and it changed my world. And I'm sure something will change again in this weekend. And come and play again. Come and play next week at the same time. And we'll see what else we can all do to create the future that we know is possible. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being here and being the contribution you be. We'll see you again next week. Bye.